Good morning, brothers and sisters, friends and family on YouTube world. It says that we are live. So we want to welcome back Mike Mihajlovic. I have a problem saying that his name
Oh,
sometimes, but
that's okay.
Mihajlovic,
Yep,
Mike
yep.
Mihajlovic, and our friend from Red Pill Diaries. Mike, can you introduce yourself? Let the people know a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hi to everyone. I'm a military analyst, engineer by background. So I'm doing a lot of research, a lot of studying, a lot of publishing about the military stuff, commenting about the military affairs worldwide. Regarding to mostly to the technical issues, for instance, in the warfare, like air defense, artillery, tactics, operations. And I also have my Twitter account where I put regular posts, also Substack with some comments, articles, and the Black Mountain analysis and Black Mountain talks. Yeah, so that will be very, very brief one.
Okay, we'll put all the all the information how to get a hold of you and Black Mountain Analyst and Black Mountain Talks. We'll put all that in the description along with your books. And go ahead, Rashid, if you have a question.
Yes, Mike, I wanted to know when you served in the military, did you serve in the Serbian military at the time of the NATO war?
Yes, yes, I served in the Serbian military during the NATO aggression, and quite proud of that. I
Yeah,
defended my country.
you did right. And I wanted to follow that up is being having experience with NATO aggression, especially balkanizing Yugoslavia
Mhm.
um, under false pretenses, lies, and just brutal aggression.
Yes.
What what are the similarities that you see today when we're talking about the Ukrainian-Russian conflict?
Well, Yugoslavia, as a multi-ethnic, multinational country, was the testing ground. So it was like a micro polygon, micro testing ground for the concepts that will come later. So Yugoslavia was experiment how to break multinational country, multi-religious country that relatively lived in a very comfortable life. We had a really good standards. See, education was free, medical was free, dental was free, salaries were very high compared to any other Eastern European countries or many Central and West European countries at that time. We have freedom of traveling everywhere. Even with our passport, we can go to US without visas. So that was, let's say, in the 70s and 80s. But that concept didn't work because NATO, European Union at that time, US government, of course, they wanted to check how to break multinational country from inside. So that's the reason why they insinuated and started with different nationalistic politicians. Those nationalistic politicians were basically all on U.S., British, whatever intelligence payroll. So that was really the biggest problem. And when they created economic crisis, political crisis was just upgrade on that. And of course, Yugoslavia was not ideal country by all means. There were issues since the World War II. So those who were in charge, they smartly quotes, employed that stuff. So turn people against each other, turn neighbors against each other. Now, Yugoslavian civil war was brutal, really, really brutal. And after that, all of those, I would say, not even banana republics, that would be insult to the banana republics, to call any country that, but those countries were, with the corrupted politicians all the way from Slovenia to Macedonia. There is no innocent. They're absolutely corrupted. They're playing how orchestra in Washington is how band or orchestra in Washington is playing. So they are simply doing what they were tell to do. All of that stuff is just a fake democracy, fake elections, just throwing the dust to people in the people's eyes and making them try to blame somebody else for the problems that was not even caused by them. So the issue is that that experiment was successful, obviously. So somebody decided after 20 or 30 years to implement that on Russia, because Russia is federation, multiple republics. There was a civil war in Chechnya. There was on the Caucasus, and but that didn't succeed because fortunately the drunk Yeltsin simply handed over his presidency to President Putin, who actually defended Russia. He was many will call him tough guy, but he raised Russia from the ashes of the 90s, and Ukraine as the soft belly, how they called it often in the West, in the Eastern Europe, was now experiment. Not actually, I'm wrong. It's not experiment. Is an act how to break Russia. And to break Russia, the best thing for them is to turn brother against brother, because all Russians, Ukrainians, they're Slavic nations, brothers. So that's the way how West work. See, they're creating unity. Let's say this famous European Union in the West, like everything is fine, but on the East it can't work. So the ultimate goal is turn brother against brother, turn people against people for the sake of the almighty military investment. I intentionally call it military, not military industrial complex. It is military investment complex with a handful of rich people who rule behind the scene, want all of those resources in Russia, all of those, whatever that huge country and extremely rich country can offer. The best thing is to do that is simply pull the script from Yugoslavia and apply that to Russia. If they succeed in Russia, who will be the next? Iran and China. China is also a multi-ethnic and multinational country. So keep the people fighting each other, keep the racial tension, ethnic tension, so that just the chosen elite can rule all of them. Divide and conquer. It's a never-ending script. I can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, can I ask a follow-up question?
Go ahead, bro.
How do you feel now seeing the what the West is trying to implement with Russia? And what I mean by that is most people think that it started in 2014. Some people think it started when the coup in Georgia took place. But I think that the testing grounds for Ukraine and Georgia was the bombing of Yugoslavia and the balkanization of Yugoslavia. Do you feel that way? And what is the feeling on the ground where you are?
That was, I agree with you that it didn't start 2014. It started much earlier. Actually, it's never stopped since 1945. If I quote Marshal Zhukov, when he said, we liberated Europe, but they will never forgive us for that. So the issue is that Russia, since the times of, let's say, 1700s, Swedish invasion, then Napoleon, everybody want peace of Russia. Everybody wanted to destroy Russia. And all of those, let's call them dictators or lunatics, whatever, megalomaniacs, all of them failed. But that script is repeating. And every century has taken something from the past and tried to implement that on some other way. So that is the reason why from 1945, for instance, CIA used Ukrainian nationalists from the Western Ukraine, Nazis, or I almost wanted to say ex-Nazis, but there is no such thing as ex-Nazi. Nazi is Nazi. So they wanted to use them against Russia, and that continues since 1945, more or less. When the Soviet Union collapsed, which was the huge geostrategical error, all of those independent countries, they started to be ruled by the handful of oligarchs, including Russia. So that was disaster time, and that was time when the NATO decided to go east. So they accepted all of those former Warsaw Pact countries, and Ukraine will be the crown, jewel in the crown with that. But that was the step. initiating war in Ukraine, not in 2022. It was 2014. Actually, was somebody will kill that beginning. But when President Bush, I think he announced in 2008 that penetration to the east, to call it, or Drag nach Osten, like they said, say in German. Hitler used that stuff also. So that was the stuff that was clear to Russian leader, that there is no friendship with NATO. So that next target will be Russia itself, and that target was through Ukraine. So Ukrainians are such a beautiful country, such a nice people. They're actually used by the handful of oligarchs, to call them oligarchs, whatever. Or business people on business on some way, they want simply to destroy the largest and richest country in the world for the sake of simply ruining the world. But President Putin reacted. He reacted. He multiple times he warned that enough is enough. So that's the reason why he unleashed this operation, special military operation in Russian terminology, or full-scale war in the Western terminology. There was no other choice for him, because otherwise, if he didn't unleash that operation in February, in March, Ukraine with 150, 160,000 professional troops would attack Donbass and Lugansk. So there was simply no other option. All stuff that was like a Minsk agreement that was signed by leaders and guaranteed by the West, all of that fell into the septic pit, because one side simply used that time to reinforce, to get ready for the invasion, basically on East, to break Russia. So the war was inevitable, unfortunately.
I'm muting and unmuting myself so it doesn't echo in you guys' ears. So go ahead.
I have a quick question. Everything that's going on right now, the interview between Putin and Tucker Carlson. What are your thoughts on that, and what do you think will be accomplished with the interview?
Well, I'm looking forward to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I don't believe that the network will simply hold it, because millions of people will be waiting for that. And I would not exclude some jamming, to say, so that the internet may crash in some countries, especially US. Well, Tucker is professional. He's a journalist. He wants to talk with both sides. I don't see anything wrong with that. And I admire his courage, because he went to Russia. He knew that what is going to happen in the U.S. media or Western media. I mean, there's a lot of critics calling him a traitor of the Western nations, whatever. It's simply nonsense. He's doing his job. He's professional. They kick him out from Fox because the pressure from the certain circles. I almost said circus in the States. But as a professional, he's doing what his profession dictated him to do. And I believe that it will be an honest interview, and President Putin will say what is on his mind. And President Putin will state basically something that on the West they try to basically to suppress. So that is the biggest issue. But all of those critics against Tucker, it's funny. It's like charlatans criticize him, because it is like criticizing a book without even reading it. Let's first hear the interview. Let's first see the other side, what the President Putin is going to say. And I believe it will be really, really revealing, because he's going to talk to Russian side. Why is all of this situation? Who is really to blame for this situation? So I'm really looking forward for that. But also, Tucker may be in danger. They've already put him on the kill list. Of course, he's American. He's American citizen. But bear in mind, Gonzalo Lira was also American citizen, and the U.S. government have done nothing. Even they can just dial certain number in Ukraine, and Gonzalo will be out. So it is the big game, and it's getting more and more cruel. But I'm always saying, let's hear the other side. People should think with their own brains, not what the mass media is telling them to think.
Yes.
Right.
You know, it's amazing. It's amazing that the Western world is always talking about freedom of choice and freedom of expression, and yet they shut down freedom of thought and freedom of different opinions or whatever. What with Russia beating Ukraine and beating the entire Western military-industrial complex hands down before the entire world, what is the temperature on the ground in Serbia and in former Soviet Union states? What is the temperature? Because on one hand, reality sets in that everything that the United States and the West have made everybody to believe has turned out to be a lie, and Russia continues on grinding down NATO and the Ukrainian military. What is the feeling on the ground?
Well, I would separate governments in those countries from the thoughts of ordinary people, because ordinary people, all they want is to have a safe life, to live normally, to earn enough for themselves, to live some kind of comfortable life without any pressure, without the fear. But politics, unfortunately, made people influence people on a pretty negative way. So, particularly in Serbia, Serbia is not the same country that was 30 years ago, because Serbia is now Serbian president, Serbian leadership. They're trying to sit basically between Western powers, Western pressure, and Russia, which is traditionally the Slavs. Serbs are traditionally connected to Russia, but not only to Russia, to the old Orthodox Slavs. There is enormous pressures from the European Union with all of those talks, like a carrot and stick. They're threatening sanctions, then they promise paradise if Serbia condemn Russia or put the sanctions against Russia. For now, Serbian people, ordinary people, they don't care about that. They don't give a damn for European Union. But politicians, they have to swim between those sharks in the West and try to stay in power. See, the problem with this is that those small countries on the Balkans, they can't decide for themselves, because it is a proven concept. Countries are divided, broken to the smaller entities. Now those entities are very, very easy to manipulate. Who is ruling those countries? They are ruled from the, let's say, U.S. embassies in the countries' capitals. So U.S. embassies, British embassies, of course, there, because British embassies are usually going like a plaster to the skin, supporting U.S. So those countries are ruled by the ambassadors, not by the elected governments. The question is how long it's going to last. Well, nobody knows that, but people are fed. People are fed because that stick and carrot methods give them some increases in pensions or salaries, then threaten them with sanctions. So people are occupied trying to survive their daily life, and that kind of mass is easy to control. Now what the West trying to do is trying to put that to spread like a disease to other countries. As I mentioned previously, Russia is the step toward China, Iran and China, because China would be the ultimate prize. Divided, break the country, break the market, make them what they were, let's say, in 1930s or 1920s. But I believe that stuff is not going to happen.
And a follow-up question on that, then I'll step back. Has Serbia ever acknowledged or recognized any of the former republics of Yugoslavia?
Yes, Serbia has diplomatic relationship and recognize all former republics, but Serbia will never recognize Kosovo because Kosovo is not a country. It's just stolen territory, is occupied territory, which is ruled from the Bonstil U.S. base, which is also hub for certain activities that coming from the east to the west, and certain transfer of material, which is certain materials. I'm not going to name that material, but you will know the people getting high on that. So, yeah, Serbia will never recognize Kosovo because Kosovo is Serbian territory. And it was also recognized by 1244 UN resolution. But the UN is losing, as the time progresses, UN is losing the meaning because obviously we see what is going on in the Security Council. But again, Serbia will never recognize that breakaway republic. And situation is actually critical for the Serbian population because there is an enormous pressure to the Serbian population they want to simply expel people from their own homes. Imagine if somebody, for instance, come and they want to expel you from California or Mississippi just because they want it, and they have a mighty patrons to do that. So, what Serbian president can do? Just try to navigate, try to swim in that very dangerous waters. What is going to happen the day when NATO collapse, if they collapse one day, all that stuff, all that artificial things that they created will fall. They're going to fall like a domino. It will be like a domino effect. NATO looks like strong, but NATO power NATO power actually is collapsing in Ukraine because they used the poor Ukrainian people to fight and die for their goals, with some support of the much prized weapons, which is not as good as they say in their advertisement. You know, in the West, everything is marketing. If you market something, yeah, people will start to believe that it is the best one. But once when it comes to the reality, or when people buy that stuff and see what kind of crap they bought, situation may turn. And European Union, look what's going on with the farmers. I mean, they're trying to hit people, which is most hurtful. Food. Without food, there is no country. There is no life. And because some of whatever reasons they're calling for that European Parliament, it's like a joke, like a charlatan parliament. So they're creating the crisis. And that crisis maybe just will turn like a French Revolution. You know, guillotine may roll again. Hopefully, it will not be casualties, but you never know.
Mike, about the recent strikes by the U.S. on Iraq and Syria, and the combined strikes by the U.S. and UK on Yemen, what fighter jets and bombs were used in the attack, and who or what was targeted and hit in the attacks? Also, were the Houthis and Iran-backed fighters retaliate? If so, how do you think?
Well, let's first go to the attacks on how the U.S. call that proxies, Iranian proxies. Those guerrilla groups, they have connections with Iran, but they're in their tactical operations, they're pretty much independent. Mm-hmm. They all think that U.S. is occupier. And honestly, U.S. forces, they're occupiers of the territories. What U.S. Army still doing in Iraq? What U.S. Army still doing in Syria? Guarding the oil fields, extracting the oil fields, and those American boys and girls that serve in the military. Unfortunately, some of them died. Many were wounded. Honestly, for what? Defending the U.S. interests? No, they're not. They are not defending U.S. interests. U.S. people, American people interests. They're defending interests of the military investment complex. Poor boys and girls from some suburbia in Georgia or Mississippi, or Oklahoma, whatever. they joined the military, yes, with a noble intention to serve the country, and also to make some money for college. Hopefully that everything will be fine. But they were not. They were basically deceived by all those military recruiters. They were sent to protect some remote bases in the countries where they don't, where nobody likes them. I saw that in Afghanistan. We had control of what was the range of our guns. Everything else was under Taliban control. We talked 20 years about democracy and other BS, and what we achieved, so that American general can board a plane in the middle of the night and escape. So something like that may even happen in Iraq and Syria. Iraq is a sovereign country. U.S. forces are bombing, assassinating people left and right. So there is nothing that the Iraqi government can do. But the people are different. People will object it, and the situation is going to get more tense. I'm sorry for every single life lost in those attacks. So those people killed, they don't deserve that. They should be somewhere else. Because being an occupier in a country that doesn't like you, that people doesn't like you, I believe it's completely awful feeling. So U.S. will bomb those targets when what they identified. But what was funny, they brought B-1B bombers from UK to make a bomb runs over some of those targets with J ammunition, guided missiles. But what is the goal? What they can achieve with that? Yeah, they will destroy a few warehouses, kill a few hundred people, but they will not stop. They will not cut the problem, because the problem is simply going to people there, when they see American bombers killing their own countrymen, they will simply side even more with those guerrillas, because this bombing will solve anything. To attack Iran, U.S. is not capable of doing that without suffering heavy casualties. Bear in mind, Iran has such a ballistic missile potential, plus drones. They have thousands of them. Plus, they have also proxies. If U.S. attack Iran, just one bomb fell on Iranian territory, Iranians, they're going to retaliate. They're going to hit U.S. bases, and it will not be 3 unfortunate U.S. soldiers killed. It will be hundreds. U.S. can't afford that. How to justify to American people that somewhere 5,000, 10,000 kilometers from the U.S., boys and girls get killed, protecting the freedom. Freedom is protecting at home from those who initiate all of those attacks. That will be freedom protection. So I don't think that it will be war now. Even one country in that area, they would like, they're pushing for war with Iran. That country is Israel. Israel and Netanyahu, which lost control, absolutely. Nobody can control him. They are leveling Gaza, they are destroying Gaza, they're killing. It's basically a genocide. Look at the definition of genocide, everything following that. And the war in Gaza war in Israel didn't start on October 7th, but it started actually in 1948, in April 1948. So that is the biggest problem. Now the question is, who controls who? Can U.S. government control Israeli government, or vice versa? Very, very tricky question. But keeping the tension in that region, bombing here and there some of those Iranian proxies, attacking them, assassinating leadership of IRGC or of any of those numerous groups, it is going to continue. So tension is something that works for those who want to initiate that stuff. Now, if you go to Houthis, they don't care. They simply don't give a damn, don't give an S for U.S. interests, for British interests. They're the only one, and head down to them. They're the only one who actually put any effort to try to protect Palestinian people in Gaza and in the West Bank. And they were clear. They're not going to attack any other ships than those intended for Israel. Now, when the U.S. started to bomb, I believe that there was a 24/7 surveillance over over the Houthi or Yemen territory, looking for targets, looking for all of those launchers. But there are limitations. Saudis, UAE, they tried for 9 years. They bombed Houthis for 9 years. And what they achieved? Nothing. They lost numerous airplanes for the almost obsolete Houthis air defense. Most modern Western equipment that the Saudis money can buy, F-15s, F-16s, then British Tornadoes, Eurofighters. Yeah, all of the stuff was done by Houthis. Now, U.S. using the I believe it's a carrier naval aviation to bomb designated Houthi targets. But Houthis are not stupid. They're very smart people, and they for almost 10 years experience, they disperse their equipment. They build tens, let's say 10 to 20 dummies for each real stuff that they have, and they expose those dummies so that U.S. intelligence and British intelligence can see that. They bomb that. They claim, "Oh, we destroy such and such stuff." No, and then the Houthis hit let's say tanker or a container ship, but again, they're simply doing what they said that they're going to do. There is no jokes with them. U.S. can bomb Houthis for years. They don't care. They have nothing to lose. They're true believers. They respect their religion and they respect their goals. So they will continue to do that, no matter what happens. Now, if U.S. increase the attacks, Houthis are going to hit, for instance, base in Djibouti. They can hit all of those refineries around. They have means to do that, and they will do that. If they said they're going to do that, they will do that. And but it's not the biggest damage to, let's say, to cause the damage to U.S. destroyer or British destroyer. But what is really hurting is actually those shipping lines. Insurance companies, they increase premiums for insurance for U.S. ships, registered ships or crude ships, British ships, Israeli ships. So they have to go around. It costs tons of money, and this is something that is hurting West.
Mm-hmm.
From time to time, they will hit some warship, like the Brits. They're now withdrawing their destroyer. I think the name is HMS Diamond. They said that they need repairs, refitting, but I believe that they got hit. They got hit, so they have to move that destroyer out of the area. Also, I read a couple of reports regarding to the U.S. casualties. For instance, two U.S. Navy SEALs disappeared, and then on some other part of the world, U.S. airplane crashed, then a helicopter is missing. Kind of weird. Is that coincidence that when they are placing a campaign over one country, bombing one country, some of those assets in the different parts of the world are crashing or missing? I don't believe really in coincidence. Too bad for people. I'm really so sorry for any casualties, for U.S. casualties, British casualties, Houthi casualties, because those people, they don't deserve that. But obviously something is boiling. Something is boiling beneath the pot, and the question is how long that pressure valve is going to hold.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not expecting anything good in that part of the world. It's simply going to intensify. Mm-hmm. And if Iran is getting involved for some reason, the Strait of Hormuz will be blocked, so all oil shipment done. They can kiss goodbye to Western countries for oil and gas. Bab el-Mandeb Strait will be blocked, but also they can hit, Houthis can hit the entrance of the Suez Canal. So, like a triangle, look at positions, it's like a triangle. And the Western powers, they know that, but they don't have means how to protect it. They can bring fleets. But look what happened, for instance, with the British aircraft carrier. They were ready to deploy, then suddenly shaft broke, and they can't use it. So put a few billion pounds in the floating can that they can even use. So that is basically the state of the Western powers. And what is good, it's emerging power of some other countries. They simply said enough is enough. Mm-hmm. And before it was the brute force of using air power to do that. But now all those countries, they learn from Ukraine. They will use drones. Drones are cheap, so let's say the most expensive drone, few $1,000s, can disable a destroyer, which costs $500 million, or block the shipping lines. So we are living a really, really interesting time, really exciting time now. So we will see what is going to happen, but I don't believe that everything is just going to settle down. Peace will suddenly prevail. No, because peace is not in interest. Peace is not in interest of the military investment complex, because money need to roll. They need to get the money. If somebody else fight with them, excellent.
I have a follow-up question, Mike. Um, who do you think, in your opinion, who do you think is winning the drone wars?
Well, the drone war, I mean, for the sheer number and applications, yeah, that would be Iran, Russia, and the other countries will simply follow. Production lines in Iran, production lines in Russia, in China, they're going to explode with the orders, with the numbers. So drone war is something that countries need to or either adapt or simply run away from that. Because look what is going on in Ukraine. When Russians put all those cope cages first against the Javelin missiles, everybody in the West, they mock them. Oh, what is that? They can't do anything. But now they're simply copying the stuff. And those cope cages can protect tank, can protect artillery on the position. So people simply will grab like metal fences and put it on the tank to have at least some kind of protection. So, but the drones, operators can actually guide them, so not attack from the top. They will attack where there is no cockpit to protect it. You see what's going on with drones in Ukrainian positions. Drone enter into the side door of the trench and exploded inside. It's cruel. It's unimaginable for people who are inside. But the drones became the killers, effective killers. Now, if those drones are equipped with artificial intelligence to recognize targets, and they're already equipped for that, any kind of drone can actually become the deadly weapon. You have a drone that can put a hand grenade, that drone can fly over the tank and drop that in through the hatch. And that now drones operating, let's say, those kind of drones operating a few kilometers from the front line. But in the next few months, those kind of drones will operate 10, 20, 40 kilometers from line. Russia now start to use their Lancets to hit blocking posts, like a control post or checkpoints, 50 kilometers behind the Ukrainian lines. There are numerous videos. Checkpoints somewhere deep in the Ukrainian rear is hit by Lancet. So either they have so many of them that they can hit some makeshift checkpoint, or they simply develop that in such a way that every single infantry unit can have their own drone platoon, and that is basically the future of warfare. Drones now attacking individual soldiers, day or night, equipped drone with thermal vision, and it's efficient to attack anyone in the middle of the night. How to protect them? They demonstrate that a shotgun can do that. I saw a couple of video clips that the shotgun is hitting the drone, smaller drone, of course. It will be drones, hunter killers. So the drones against drones. So the level of warfare, the way of warfare completely changed, and drones are going to dominate that in the near future. Ukrainian battlefield is the test ground and proving ground for this kind of warfare. And you see, every month there is something new. Now we have aerial drones. Now we will have like a land drones. So it's amazing how that stuff, regarding to the technical application, works. I'm not, when I said amazing, it's amazing how that works, not how they start killing people. I don't like that how they affect the people. But on the pure technical stuff, that stuff is truly amazing. and it is going to be more and more. It will be more and more application for that.
I have a two-part question I want to ask you, but before I ask you that, I think we forgot to set the introduction of you the right way. A lot of people don't know that you served in the, like as Juan said at first, served in the Serbian military or the Yugoslavian military. You guys have a distinction of being one of the only countries to shoot down a U.S. Stealth plane, and you went toe-to-toe for 3 months with the so-called most powerful military organization on the planet, and you gave them all the hell that they could take. You know, so we have to put that up there first, and that wasn't on purpose that we failed to recognize that, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, regarding to that, see, we had obsolete systems that were built in 1960s, 1970s, and the number of those systems that we had, there were no investment in spare parts, in any bringing anything new. So we have to deal with the stuff that we have. So it was a lot of innovations, not in the system itself, but the tactics, how to employ that stuff. So how to build decoys, how to try to lure NATO, because we studied tactics. I studied tactics of NATO aviations. I studied their equipment, their bombs, their missiles, how they do attacks. So according to that, we try to develop the stuff. We use the decoys made from almost everything, from the old car wrecks, metal plates. We also used like cow manure, because the temperature of cow manure was something that will reflect, that will be close to the working temperature of a tank engine. So put a little bit of manure over some plywood, and when the F-15 fly or A-10 fly around, and they see the heat race, they will send Maverick anti-tank missile against that target, because it will be guided to the thermal source. There are so many things happening. I believe that now a lot of other countries start to copy that, which is actually very positive. So it means that we perform the good stuff. I want to tell you one thing. If Serbia or Yugoslavia in that time, before I talk about 5%, but if we had 1% of Ukrainian air defense in 2022, just 1% of all of those air defense vehicles, NATO will never attack us. But if we have just let's say 0.0005% of financial support or delivery of weapons delivery from any country, Kosovo will never be occupied. Imagine 1%. If Ukraine, for instance, had 400 modern missile systems, we need just 4 of them to close the whole country. And we fought against NATO with something which is top range, declare range 24, 25 kilometers, but effectively 14 to 15 kilometers. So that's the reason why NATO said, it was victory achieved only by bombardment. But they never tried to set a foot on Serbian territory. They sent Albanians. They sent UCK guerrillas. We call them terrorists. For us, they were terrorists, which they really are. They sent them as a proxies. And what happened when they sent them over to Albania border? Their casualties are thousands, and our boys they stood their ground. So and we didn't have support from anyone. The only president that really president with the balls to say that came to Serbia was Lukashenko, and head down to him. He flew to Belgrade beside all of those NATO planes flying around. They brought some stuff, let's say, few Igla missiles to us, but that was just not even drop in the water. So we were basically surrounded by NATO countries that actively support NATO. Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, they allowed the NATO planes to fly to their airspace to attack us. So with They were not really good neighbors at that time, but we can't choose our neighbors. That's the point. And what happened really with our air defense? Yeah, we had the casualties. We lost people, we lost equipment, but we've done what we can. And the stuff what we have available, we hit American planes, we hit British planes. Those planes were damaged. Some of them had emergency landing in the countries around us. You will never read that in any of those their reports. Some plane crashed, pilots got lost, but they will never acknowledge that, because for NATO, especially for US, if the plane is damaged and land on the friendly territory, it is because of technical reasons. If the plane is damaged and crash on our own territory, and we can show the piece of wing, or we can show the pilot, yeah, in that case, the plane is lost, but they will say probably or most likely because of technical reasons. Again, that's the way how they work. So yeah, but on the military field, yes, we fought for 78 days non-stop bombing. But with the forces that we had, it's almost like you want to fight Mike Tyson with somebody who had both hands tied behind its back. And that stuff that how NATO thought that they won the air warfare. They thought that they're going to do the same in Ukraine. But no, because Russia is simply not Ukraine. And again, I want to emphasize that. Give us, in 1999, 1% of the stuff that, or 2% of the stuff that Ukraine had in February 2022. That will be a completely different story. Absolutely, 180 degrees.
Is there any question?
Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, I thought maybe you might have a. Go ahead, bro.
I was saying the second part of the question. I didn't want to hog the time, but the second part of the question I did want to ask him: how close were we to World War III when Russian troops parachuted into the former Yugoslavia and took over that military base and would not allow NATO in?
Well, fortunately, there was a British general. I think his name was Michael Jackson.
Yes, Lord.
He was ordered by Wesley Clark to take Russians out, to just wipe them. But Wesley Clark simply told them that he's not going to start the World War III to achieve the goals of. I'm not sure which word he used, but it was not really not appropriate word to address to the superior commander. So President Clinton, he's more interested in Monica Lewinsky stuff than in fighting war in war there. But Wesley Clark was the one who actually wanted to start fighting with Russia. And Russia had only one company, paratrooper company. And it was funny when I look at that, the Russian paratrooper, he put a chair on the entrance of the airport, sit there. And in front of him, there was a British troops, tanks waiting to get in, but nobody actually had the balls to do that. And we were close to initiate that kind of war if the British general listened to the General Wesley Clark. And Clark was the one. He's intelligent guy, but he's typical product of superiority of so-called superiority system. Intentionally I said so-called because taking war with the Russian paratroopers, even at that time, the Yeltsin was in charge. Will simply push us to World War III. Very, very easy. If the President Putin was in that time, first 1999 bombing would never happen. But in that time, 1990s, Russia was on the bottom, economically, militarily, name it. So that was the blossoming of NATO. So that's the reason why NATO decided to move east. But now it's completely different. Tide is turning.
There you go, Juan.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to ask you, what was your thoughts on what was going on with Zelensky and Zelensky?
Zaluzhny, yeah.
Saying that he was saying that there was going to be a military shakeup or reset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they like to use that word reset, like the famous German person Klaus is using that word often. Yeah, well, somebody need to be blamed for the disaster, basically, all of those offensives, that much announced offensives that was not even planned in detail by Ukrainians. It was planned by US, by NATO military planners. They had staff games, they had simulations how to perform those attacks. So that miserably failed, and it was expected. Nothing else than that. So Zaluzhny is interesting person because he's the true general. He's the strategist. He knows he's charismatic for a certain number of Ukrainian troops. Also, he's the one that bear the brunt of organizing Ukrainian forces. He's not the only one. His deputies, his staff, then commander of the land forces. Yeah, those guys, they're fighting the war. But the problem is they need a scapegoat. Zelensky need a scapegoat. Zelensky is, bear in mind, Zelensky is an actor. He's a comedian. Now I would say he's a tragic comedian. He's going to remove Zaluzhny, but Zaluzhny has a support of the Nazis, right wing, right sector, call them whatever. So if he remove him, and probably he will, or maybe he already removed him, Zaluzhny will be sent, let's say, somewhere else to be ambassador somewhere, or in a position which is not really important. But if Zelensky remove his staff, his people, those people who usually fight the war, commanders who are doing operational and strategic movement and decisions, if he remove them, then we will see in a very, very short period of time that some parts of Ukrainian military is simply going to collapse. Not collapse, a complete collapse, but some sectors of the front, they have to make a decision to withdraw. And withdrawal is something that Zelensky can't afford, because he need to justify all of that support. He need to justify money. Even Ukrainian military got maybe 10% of all money that was sent to them. The rest was split between military investment complex, Ukrainian politicians, and people that are in charge. Weapons, yeah, they had a large quantities delivered, but that weapons is not that. Some of them are, let's say, very, very, very modern, but the majority of them are just scraping the barrel, was taking the sludge from the septic pits or the Western storages and send it to Ukraine, because it's much easier to recycle, to give them to Ukrainians to fire them, and if they fire that, it's okay. If it's exploded, okay, again, then to put the money to recycle that in Canada or the US or anywhere in any NATO country. A lot of weapons are missing. I think that they mentioned the $1 billion value of weapons is simply missing, gone, evaporate. So this is the first time that I heard that weapons can evaporate. But obviously there is a lot of physics that they didn't teach us in the universities. But in politics there's a different ways of aggregate conditions. So sometimes it's drop, sometimes evaporate, but evaporating the weapons is the new physical phenomenon. I mean, it will be for Ukraine, if they shake that now, when Russia is actually getting stronger and stronger every day, certain parts of the front will collapse. Avdiivka is gone. This is the lost cause. they should have left Avdiivka as soon as the Artemovsk fell. So, but they didn't withdraw because Avdiivka was, it still is within the artillery range to Donetsk, so they can deliberately fire on the civilian locations there. Avdiivka was fortified for 9 years, the most fortified area front, with the bunkers, pillboxes, communication lines, underground command posts, all those residential buildings which they basically evacuate or expel civilian population. They were turned into the strong points. But Russia now Russia developed different tactics, small unit tactics with artillery support, with air support. So they're pounding them. There are casualties, terrific casualties on both sides. But ultimately, it's like in the box. The guy who can stand the last is going to win the match. The problem with this is that if there are certain circles in Ukrainian establishment, Ukrainian government, they don't like Zelensky. But Zelensky is a charismatic leader presented to the West. He's supported by Nuland and all of those warmongers. If they lose Zelensky, then what is going to happen with the investment? Because Ukraine is investment. Again, follow the money. Follow the money. Who invests the money in Ukraine? So the guys from the military investment complex. So portion of the money is going to Ukraine, but all other stuff is going back to their pockets. And lobbyists, of course. So 100 people in US is getting now multi-billionaires because of this war. BlackRock, they bought countless acres of land in Ukraine, agricultural land, industrial objects, material resources. If they collapse, then they lost investment. But it's like a mafia. If mafioso lose investment, for instance, that he gave something to somebody, and that somebody is not performing or not repaying the stuff, they're going after that guy. So who is that guy? Zelensky will be the one who may they get after. But in this case, Zelensky may simply try. Okay, so it's not my fault, but it's Zaluzhin and his guys. So who will be the scapegoat? We don't know yet, but time will tell. But something. See, I'm always saying, if you want to see who is behind all that stuff, just follow that tiny, almost invisible yarn or rope represented by money. So how money is invested, how money is coming back, and to whom that money is coming. It's not going to those poor Ukrainian infantrymen that are sitting in dugouts to be blown by artillery or burned by thermobaric weapons. So they're just proxies. It's their own purpose. In the big chess game, they're not even the pawns. They're the bottom of the pawns. Again, the wonderful people, wonderful country, which turned into, because of somebody they wanted to use them. They used they use them, and that is the tragic of all of the situation. We are just you, me, whoever. We are just pawns in the big game.
Right. Mike, do you have time for one more question?
Yes.
I just wanted to unless Rashid has anything to say or another.
The only thing I have to say is, man, this guy, Mike, I got to give it to you, man. I love talking to you, man. I'm serious. I can pick your mind all day long. And there's so many questions swirling around in my head. I'm like, but hopefully one day I can get you on my platform and I can ask you a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah, no problem. I'm here.
I will. Is it okay, Mike, if I give him your email?
Yep.
Okay. My last question is I was just wondering if after I ask this question, if you can just give us a brief update what you think is going. So because we've been talking about Russia and Ukraine, so I just wanted to if you could just give us a brief what do you think is going on with Israel and Ukraine, Israel and Gaza. But my question is, the Palestinians. I read an article and it says that the Palestinians are being starved. They have been displaced and surveilled. When do you believe that they will be assisted, and by whom? And if you could just give us a brief, what do you think is going on?
Yeah, unfortunately, what's going on with Palestinians are, honestly, I can't believe that something like that is really happening in the 21st century. Gaza Strip is slaughterhouse. I hate to say that after October 7th, I predicted the Israelis are going to attack, and I predicted about 30,000 with that attack. About 30,000 Palestinians will die, and many more will be wounded. And I hate to say that I'm getting very close to that prediction that will be true. I hate it. I hate to be right for that kind of stuff, because looking at those pictures or those videos, it's heartbreaking. I mean, normal person can't hold it. How somebody can really resist in believing that people are slaughtered, innocent people. I believe that there is a real terrorist in Hamas as well. People who are out of control. But Hamas evaluated Hamas from the very important thing. Israelis, Mossad, they formed Hamas. They paid Hamas because they wanted somebody to counter Fatah movement. So it's almost like Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda was formed by who? U.S. ISIS formed and supported by Israel and U.S. So it's a double game. It's a double or triple game because it serves some interest. Enemy of my enemy is my friend. So it's. I don't think that it's going to settle very fast. Israel is not going to back up because Israel has support. One or another way. Was that voluntarily, or some circles in Israel have very compromising material about certain American called in influencers through that Epstein, who was, I believe, a U.S. Navy reserve officer, but also Mossad agent. So they have very compromising material about that. It's almost like a public secret, and West is not going to leave Israel. But what is surprising to me is those Arab countries. Again, the only country which is, let's say, close to Gaza, Yemen, Houthis, the poorest country in the Middle East, people that are starving. They had, and they still have enough heart, enough courage to stand behind the Palestinian people. Other countries like Egypt or Jordan or Saudi Arabia, they're now working as forward air defense to Israel. Again, government is one thing. Ordinary people is completely different. We should never put them equal, put them together. When I said Arab countries, what I'm thinking is about rulers, about people who are in charge, not the ordinary people. Ordinary people in China, Middle East, the U.S., they're all good people. But who is not good? Governments are not good. And unfortunately, they're going to do nothing. Egypt is not going to allow Palestinians to go to their checkpoints, their border, to the Sinai Peninsula, because Israel will never let them come back. Israel is now shifting troops from the Gaza Strip to the north against Hezbollah. But Hezbollah is, if the Hamas is formidable guerrilla forces in the cities, Hezbollah is tenfold more stronger. So Israel will have really big problems with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is not going to back up. Hezbollah is going to fight. Israel already invaded, I think it was 2006, invaded Lebanon, and they were, after some time they were forced to go back. Israeli military. I have to confess, I was always admirer of the Israeli military power, how they organize that, how their command structure working, how their, for instance, their NCOs can arguing almost at the same level with the high-ranking officer, and often NCOs win because if the argument is good, of course they will win. They have different concept that U.S. military or Canadian military or any other military, but what they're doing now is something that is. I understand that they want to revenge October 7th, but they were not served the complete story what really happened on October 7th. Because October 7th doesn't look to me like ultimate failure of those border troops. Somebody on the top of Israeli establishment, they knew what is going to happen. They allowed that to happen. Nobody's a country like Israel that control the border, that not even a mice can go or cat or whatever can go through that fence without noticing. Suddenly, they allowed thousands of people to cross the border, and they didn't react for 7 hours. Then they invoked the Hannibal Directive, and they killed more people than Palestinians. Of course, on Palestinian side, there was attacks. There were really criminals that came. That some of them came on that side, but most of them are like Hamas fighters, and Hamas from the guerrilla forces almost became the military, with a very rigid command, in the organization. Somebody is not talking the truth. What really happened on the 7th? And I recently read that any denial of October 7th events in Israel is 5 years penalty. So why simply they don't go? I said, okay, if we why Israeli government simply said we screw up October 7th. We don't believe that it will be attacked, and it happened what happened. But something is really extremely fishy with all of that event. For 7 hours, the most powerful army and air force of the Middle East didn't react and close that border. That's something that I can't even imagine how this is possible. I listened to interviews with of the Israeli soldiers that serve on that part of the border, who operate those systems, cameras. It is every square inch is surveyed. As I said, mice can go through that fence without anybody noticing them. But something failed on that day, and I don't believe that it's a command of those border posts that failed. It was somebody on much higher level. I mean, somebody trying to sell the bridge to the people. This is how it looks like to me.
Okay, Mike, we appreciate you. We appreciate your time, your knowledge.
My pleasure.
Sharing with us, and we hope we can do this again. And I'm going to go ahead and put all your information in the description box, and then I'm also going to share your email with Rashid. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. See you guys.
Okay, thank you guys.
All right.
See you guys next time.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.